Is it bad that we can't create something perfect, in your opinion?
I wouldn't say classify it as bad or good. I think it's the nature of ourselves. And we need to understand that some of the most beautiful things were created by broken people and the broken soul, spiritual, heart, broken people. So basically, the shadow that occupies our minds actually is the fuel to creativeness. And that's why we need to understand how broken cities, they thrive in creative minds, in creative artists, creative people.
Welcome to the Smart Cities Council podcast. Smart Cities Council is an international organization aiming to create a safer, more beautiful, enabled, and resilient future for everyone, with more than 400,000 members and collaborators across the globe. My name is Fanni Melles. I am the Global Thought Leader for Youth Engagement, and today I welcome Vitor Pereira to the podcast, who is a collaborator, a miracle aligner, innovator and dreamer of a better world through creative and smart cities. He is a journalist and communication expert, creative and visionary strategist, and deep thinker, and he is part of the exclusive shortlist of pioneers for the Smart Cities Topics discussions. Vitor co-founded the Zoom Global Smart Cities Association, gnostic platform with heart and soul for the future, and the Smart Cities Portugal Cluster. Vitor is an international speaker and contributor, chair and coordinator of numerous events around the world and specialized content platforms, working with cities, universities, and private corporations to develop roadmaps and strategies for smart cities, smart regions, smart tourism. Vitor was first awarded with the prize of Personality of the Year Smart Cities Live 2015, Portugal, awarded for the first time within the frame of the Green Business Week, an initiative of the AIP Foundation. Vitor is the winner of the People's Choice Award First Edition 2018, an initiative from Smart to Future. Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you, Fanny. It's a great pleasure to be here.
And let's jump in because we have a lot to talk about. What
Let's do
does the
it.
city mean to you?
It's the greatest invention of all mankind, actually. Probably one of the first ecosystems for innovation, driving of a lot of things that were not working individually. So collectively, it become a more stable and progressive atmosphere to endure the future of our ancestors. Obviously, it created a lot of problems also in the same time. If you go back to the old days, city was full of lack of water, lack of energy. Basically, I'm describing the actual cities in the world. And a lot of cities in the world still have to deal with these problems. So there's a lot of understanding that cities has a good side and a bad side. And we are trying to understand how we can promote the perfect city is something that we can discuss later, which is something I don't agree with at all.
Why wait for later? What does the perfect city is for you? What is the perfect city for
That's
you?
not perfect. If something is created by an imperfect person or imperfect collective or imperfect society, obviously we are not going to create something perfect. So it has to be at least have to be a reflection of what we put on the boiling pot, right? So it's the same when we talk about like now is a trendy word right now. Everyone is talking about artificial intelligence, and we tend to forget that artificial intelligence is algorithms programmed by someone. And in the end, someone programmed the algorithms. He was an imperfect programmer. So probably the algorithm looks like perfect, but this reflects also some imperfection of the original. So I believe even God was imperfect because he created his own image and we are imperfect. So probably God has his own recording back. He's doing a lot of work, probably sitting in some mountain and thinking about, oh my God, why God created all these people? They are doing such a mess in this planet.
Is it bad that we can't create something perfect, in your opinion?
I wouldn't say classify it as bad or good. I think it's the nature of ourselves. And we need to understand that some of the most beautiful things were created by broken people and the broken soul, spiritual, heart, broken people. So basically, the shadow that occupies our minds actually is the fuel to creativeness. And that's why we need to understand how broken cities, they thrive in creative minds, in creative artists, creative people. Even though you go there, it's really depressive. It's really a mess. But we all want to be there because that's where life thrives. That's where we feel connected with the other people, other creative people. So these movements, they were very active in the 60s, in the 70s, and even in the 80s. They just created some of the best things for music, for arts, for whatever. And I'm not even returning to the 16th century or the 14th century or whatever, because it's too much. But we need to think that the challenge, the hard times, or some problems that we have in our lives, suddenly they become the fuel for something else. Even though it was created by someone who is totally broken or someone who is with a mental problem, or, is talking about writing, talking about paintings, or talk about music, talk about a lot of things. And even innovation, even technology, even a lot of things that we use right now, they were just born out of some problematic minds that was having a hard time and decided to do something with their own frustrations, with their own psychology problems. And the refuge he got was create. So it's like a exit, escape to something. And the cities, some cities were the perfect ecosystem to this kind of art, this kind of products thrive and be more frequent. So that's why I believe there's too many cities in the world. We can visit cities right now. It's very easy to visit all the cities. For example, I'll give you the Venice is one of the most visited cities in the world. Probably if you go deeper in the story of Venice, it was created by a broken society in which the Venetians were expelled from the land and they have to find ways to create their own land. So basically they start this engineering process of creating Venice. And that's where we have Venice right now. But it started with a broken society. It started with a war. It started with someone was ostracized from the land. And suddenly now is the city, one of the most visited cities, if it's not the most visited cities in the world. Yeah, everyone says it's sinking, but it's sinking for a century. So it worked like that. It was exactly the purpose, like flooding the city so people don't go there. But it's not working actually. But there's a lot of other examples. That one of my favorite is Amsterdam. A few years ago, Amsterdam was totally dark. We can even mention Amsterdam to my parents, because it was like, whoa, you go to Amsterdam, it's only drugs, it's only hookers, prostitutes, and whatever. A lot of people have this sense 15 years ago. And then suddenly Amsterdam, because it was like that, Amsterdam actually was the safe haven for people that was stigmatized in their own local cities or small cities. And they found a place where they can be themselves. They could use the earrings, they could use the hair as they want. They could be themselves. They didn't need to hide behind some fake persona. So that's why Amsterdam grew so much in the creativeness atmosphere. And of course, bring a lot of things that are attached to the creative people. And yeah, yes, the bad sides and dark sides. But in the end, right now is also a city where everyone wants to go because it changed completely and embraced this dark, this bad side, bad fame of the city. You remember a few years ago, they changed the logo to the triple X. So the triple X became the city logo. It was the flag. It was the flag already from the city, but they created the triple X as the marketing, a branding for the city. So I assume, like people from the city assume that no, we have bad sides, we have good sides, we have a lot of problems, but the city is like this. We are not going to change to another thing. Amsterdam is like this. Yes, we have people having parties. Yes, we have this. Yeah, we have that. But we are happy being like this. So basically, we need to feel good where we live.
Is it about the hardship, or because you started to talk about Amsterdam being honest about its environment? Is it about the hardship that creates the inventions and the innovation and the genuineness of a place? Or is it the honesty and transparency that this is our city, this is what we are, deal with it basically? What do you
Yeah.
think, which is the case?
Yeah, that's why I am a little bit skeptic about building a city from scratch and like building, putting people there, and then now is a city. And it will be a dysfunctional city in the end because it lacks of the dark side of the city, underground. It lacks this iceberg. There's a lot of the city that we don't see in the marketing agencies or in the city politicians' presentations or whatever. So I see it, if a city has to be totally, that's the secret to success. They have to be authentic and genuine, and they need to embrace their good and bad. If someone says only good things about their city, they are lying, and everyone knows they are lying. And especially the citizen, they are the first ones say this is a lie. But they understand, why did the politicians do this? Why the mayors and the local mayors do this? Because they want to attract new people. They want to engage with new investments and new investors. They are trying to move the city a little bit in the radar of people moving around the world. And there's a competition, a global competition right now for this. And if they do it like, okay, we don't care, it's like this, we are like this, I believe that they will be the chosen, the first ones that a lot of people will choose because they feel that, okay, here I can be myself because the city shows that like how it is. So I can show myself how I am, and I won't have a problem with that because in the end, no one will be disappointed or frustrated. Because if you move to a city and you bring your family or you change your profession or your career to a city that was flashing in the newspaper or in the advertising or whatever, and it's and then I'm go there, definitely that's the place I'm going to live. Then you go there is, oh wow, I totally made a mistake, and it becomes really a bad reputation for the city. It becomes a bad thing for the people that does these movements. So people need to be aware of this when they are choosing cities to relocate. And what do you think when you think that the cities are attracting and competing? Obviously, I'm talking about different levels of cities because we have big cities right now. They have natural attraction or for people, right? They don't need to do nothing. Now we are entering the smart city talk. Basically, the big cities and big metropolises cannot stop the people to move in and go to there. They create a big pressure on the infrastructure and they create a lot of problems related with the utilities, right? Like more related with the water, with the sewage, with the garbage, with the energy, with the mobility, with the housing, with the infrastructure. Basically, the pressure of a lot of people in the city, in the place, pressures the infrastructure and creates one thing that is called the growing effect, which is the more people you add, there's a corresponding growth in economy and GDP of the city because more people go in, grows, and a lot of the cities flourish economically, and everyone feels the sensation that, wow, our life is getting better. So that's the effect of the city. That's why people move to cities, big cities, because they think that's the safest and quickest way to achieve a good life. On the other way, there's the small cities where people coming from, right? Some are born in the big cities, but some others have to move from the small cities to the big cities. This from the small to the cities creates a different problem in the smallest city or medium city, which is the brain draining, people leaving. So it becomes like a totally different problem for those cities to solve rather than manage the garbage or mobility or put traffic lights or whatever. So there's something that we need to worry more in those cities rather than just the managed infrastructure. So I believe this is a big mistake we are committing when we talk about smart city, because we tend to think that the solution, the technological solution for both kind of cities or for different types of cities is the same everywhere. But it's about priority. So if there's a budget in the city and the priority is to avoid people to leave or bring new ones, so this should be the priority for the public money, not just manage something that you can manage later. So I believe this is the kind of dilemma we are dealing right now in the smart cities topic. Because when we talk about smart cities a long time ago, it was like digital cities, everything related with the internet, digitalization, technology, basically driven by industry. So it's something that in the meantime, it was evolved to put more sustainability, put more like other topic related with the environment, related with the economy, related with the social. Basically right now, even circular economy is a topic from smart cities. Sustainability is a topic from smart cities. Everything is a topic from smart cities if it's related with the future of the city. So basically now we are talking about cities. We should talk again about cities and not about smart cities. We should be talking about smart policies and smart strategies for the city. that would create a better city, not a smart city. Because if you don't have the city, if it's not growing, if it's not being successful, even if it has all the gadgets from a smart city, no one can call it smart. Everyone will call it such a dumb city because they are really putting a lot of technology into it. They invested millions of things into it, but they are failing. So this becomes something that I was working recently here in Portugal, because this attitude of the market to push forward to the budgets, public budgets, it becomes like a very powerful pressure, and it's very hard to deal with it when you administrate a city, because you create jobs, you create a lot of investments, you can say whatever, but in the end, it's the decision is not easy one. And you get influenced by the media, you get influenced by the influencers, you get influenced by whatever comes to the show, and it becomes very hard to not go into this technology. But it's opinions. I'm not against technology. Of course, I am a technologist almost since birth. It's like my first startup, I was like 7 years old or something. I started selling by mail bulk video games. So yes, I know what technology brought us. Everything we use is technology. Even a pen and paper is technology. Technology will flood all the cities naturally. Computers flood the cities, the sensors will flood the cities. It will be a natural process. You don't need to be too stressed about putting everything right now, because it will be a process for the normal technology. One thing is the technology, the hardware we put. The other thing is what we call it like the soul of the decision making, which some people tend to say that data is becoming important, or the only, or at least should be taken in account to make public decisions. And I am very afraid of that, because in the Western world, right? I'm not talking about other part of the planet. We don't have this democratic process or elections or whatever. It's like everyone has its own system, but we are talking for our Western system, which is based our system in responsibility and on courage, right? Because when someone is elected to a role, you have to take ideas with you, a strategy, a vision, and you're just not elected. Say, now the computer will decide. So basically, it's something that otherwise we don't need to elect no one, right? You just put a computer and artificial intelligence in the robot, and the robot will tell us, now you build a road here because the data, now you put a bus there because the data set. Now you build a block here because the data, and we just execute what the data said. There's movies and series that talk about it, that they have script already on board, right? Machine managing, because they don't have heart, they don't have soul, they just are rational. Basically, they are the rational one. They just look at the data and they do whatever, but they don't have sensibility, they don't have emotions, they don't have the values or ethics or morals, or it's like everything is decided based on what is the data shows. And I think this can be challenging for the future of our society, because we stop having the chance to make someone responsible for bad decisions, right? Or make someone accountable for something goes wrong. It will be very easy to say, no, not my fault. The computer said it was here. I didn't know we are going to create such a big problem. And everyone will be like taken out of the responsibility track. And this can create a wrong type of society, I believe. But it's my opinion. I think it's something that we need to discuss a little bit further in this world. I think this is the right moment, because I think the world is creating different paths right now, and something is pushing us towards this side, and some things are pushing towards the other side. Just not clear yet which one or who is supporting which sides, and what are the consequences for this, because there's not having a debate. So we are not discussing this. All the media is talking about this. All the events talk about this perspective of digitalization of the process, of the administration process, putting the data, putting the artificial intelligence, whatever. So it becomes like a one path narrative, and without debate, without reflection. Any kind of different thinking or critical thinking comes with saying something called conspiracy or theory. I'm not saying everything, some things are stupid. I agree with that. Not all the critics are conspiracy theorists. Just think about the process a little bit more. And they try to see the consequences for something else, not just the immediate money or the immediate outcome for careers or for companies or for investors or for whatever. So we need to think a little bit about how we're going to be in the next years, because this is the right time to do it. Otherwise, I don't know if John Connor will come from the future to save us to exactly this moment. And suddenly we start having here Terminator in our cities, grabbing kids and whatever, because that guy was writing something against us, and will become the future hero. I'm not sure about it, but let's speculate. This can be happening. That's how the movie was born, actually. That's how all these stories are created. There's a theory, there's a conspiracy theory that all the narrative, all the scripts from Hollywood, they just anticipate and create the atmosphere for us to accept what's going to happen. Aldous Huxley is one of those guys that wrote the book, and even other writers, they just created the script to warn us that information. And that's this kind of theory that all the movies we are watching, like aliens invading us, zombies or Terminators from the future or whatever, just warning us a little bit or preparing us. So when he arrives, we just, oh, that's another movie. Maybe this one in the video, in the VR, and probably we are living in some simulation. So we get to the final matrix. You get the point, right? In the end, we don't know. We don't know what we are. I am an optimist person. I believe there's a lot of people in the place. They just cannot vocalize things as some can vocalize things. Some people are silent because they need the jobs, they need their families, they need to create a stable life for their families, they need to pay education for the kids, they have to pay the house. So it's just the people cannot start criticizing their own boss or their own company or their own cities. So it's refraining of opinion, which is silent, latent. This is very dangerous because if something goes wrong, the economy breaks and everyone loses jobs and everyone loses their lives. And suddenly this can create big pressure because people are so pressured and swallowing and being silent for so long, then this can explode in our faces and we don't see it coming. In my life, I see a lot of people that they agree with a lot of point of view. They just cannot just verbalize because they can't. They are not allowed. They are not free. And you can say this any country, okay? Any country in the world. We are not discussing if it's ideology from one system or from another system. Any country, even democracies, people reframe a lot their opinions. Even in family dinners, there's a lot of people that feels restrained to give their opinion because you have to keep harmony. So silence is also very important, keep harmony, but creates side effect, which is gives pressure, and the pressure needs to go out somehow.
So many things to unpack, but I think I will first concentrate on smartness. I understand that you talk about not smart cities, but smart policies and smart strategies. However, I still would like to understand what smartness means, because that can mean a lot of things. I understand it's not just technology for you, but how do you express smartness?
The cheapest and fastest way to solve a problem. So basically, if you go to Africa, all the cities there are smart because all of the people are very smart there because they don't have no one to solve their problems. So they have to fix a lot of things. If you go to Favela in Rio de Janeiro, is a smart city. Favela, like that bad fame neighborhood. So everything there works. And it works like chaotic, very complex, very specific, but it works. And people found a way for that work. It's not perfect, but actually we are talking about the same thing if you transpose this to another city. Let me give you an example that when I was in the New York Times event a few years ago in 2015, they just put there one guy, the mayor of the Jordan refugee camp. And everyone was asking, what the hell is the mayor of a refugee camp when Syria war started? And then they created a lot of refugees, and they created like a UN, United Nations created refugee camps, and one of them was in Jordan, and assigned one guy to manage the refugee camp. And the first thing he said in this event was, I didn't do nothing. I was appointed mayor. I was just signing papers. Because as soon as people move in, You're not going to tell them, oh, you cannot do this. Oh, you cannot do that. Oh, you shouldn't do this. Oh, you shouldn't do that. So people start moving the water from one side to another. They just start moving the houses or the tents to accommodate more people, because one family has 4 people, the other family has 20 people. So they just start naturally rearranging the camp for their needs. We couldn't do nothing because, yes, we just designed the city perfect, one tent for each family. We just forgot that one family has 2 people, one family has 10 people. So we didn't think about it. So as soon as the people move in, they naturally change the whole city because it's a city. And they elected their own leaders. They or people recognize authority. So this what kind of smart means. It's like we have a problem, we have a need, and we just cannot go to the bureaucrats in the UN to solve us. We have to do it our own, otherwise we are not going to survive. So a lot of people in need, running away from a war, with kids, with elder people, with a disease, with a lot of things. So they just need to arrange these things fast, so everyone feels at least more comfortable and a little bit less stress from the situation. So this is one of the examples that I believe smartness means. There was no technology there. It's just a rearrangement. It's just planning. You are architect background, right? You know how important it is to plan things in advance and plan with the people that are going to use what you're planning. Because otherwise, just someone just writing things in a paper in some 20s floor, it becomes not usable, right? Even though it's beautiful, even though it's amazing, even though it's a piece of art, work of art, really amazing as a name, as whatever. But the Corbusier and Jane Jacobs dilemma, right? One is designing for the paper, the other one is changing what the other designs to the community. So this is a big dilemma, and the cities should start with this first instead of thinking about solve some urgent problems, of course. But these problems are caused, most of them, because there was no planning.
Vitor, you have been very generous with your time, and I still have huge amount of questions. But for the first round, this was really, really good. Thank you so much for your time. Do you have any closing comments or requests for the audience?
No, I was just thinking about how important it is to understand how problems come in the first place. And if we understand this, maybe we just learn with the mistakes. Mobility, floods in the cities, whatever, they start first with bad planning. So if you plan things probably in the next years or in the future, won't have to deal with the solution for the problems we create in the first moment. So I think this is a big message for the ones who have responsibility.
Thank you so much. If you want to learn more about Vitor, links will be provided in the show notes. The Smart Cities Council website can inform you even more. What have you learned from this interview? What questions do you have after listening to Vitor? What would you like to know more about? Let us know on the Smart Cities Council website or on LinkedIn. Look out for other episodes and topical discussions, and thanks for tuning in.